Okay, so for today, we're only going to work questions 5 and 6. But today we're going to be dealing with perimeter. Find the perimeter of the triangles in units. Round to 2 decimal places is necessary. Okay. So what does perimeter on the triangle mean? So just as a reminder, let's say I have a triangle. Let's say one side, I find the length of one side. Let me call it A because it's whatever number it is. The other side, I measure it and let's call it B. And the third side, let's say I call it C, right? A, B, and C are going to be numbers. So what I'm saying is basically find the length of each side and then perimeter, we're just going to add them all. So one side plus the second side plus the third side. So I had to figure all 3 sides and then add them all. Good. So let's take a look at our triangle here. The coordinates of E I see is -11, -1. The coordinates of D is 8, -12, and the coordinates of F are -3, -8. Okay, I gotta find all 3 sides, right? So let's use in red the side EF. So I'm gonna look at the values of E and F. So the length EF, we're gonna say, okay, the distance between E and F, we're gonna call it, let's see, if I was to subtract the x's, so I'm looking at -11 and -3. The distance between those is 8. So we're going to call it 8 squared. If I was to subtract the y's, I see -1 and a -8. The distance between those is 7. Now 8 squared plus 7 squared happens to be 10.6301. Let me use 4 decimal places for the work, okay? Even though our answer is rounded to 2 decimal places, let me deal with 4 decimal places for the work. So the distance between E and F is 10.6301. Okay, let's take a look at the distance between F and D. So I'm going to find this other distance, the distance between F and D. All right, if I was to subtract the x's, I'm looking at -3 and +8. If you need to, at the side, go 8 minus a -3. Okay, so if I was to subtract the x's, I get 11, right? If I was to subtract the y's, the distance between -8 and -12 is 4. And I get that the square root of 11 squared plus 4 squared is about 11.7046. Okay, so I'm just, so 11.7046. I know after the 6 there's a 9, so some people can I call it 7047. No, I'm just gonna write the first forward. I'm not rounding, I'm just copying the first forward. So the distance between F and D, I'm gonna call it 11.7046. Good. My last distance, the one between E and D. Okay, so looking at the axis, -11 and 8. What's 8 minus a -11? That's 19, right? So I'm gonna write 19 squared plus. Look at the y's, -12 and a -1. What's the distance between them? Subtract them. What's -1 minus a -12? I get 11. Now the square root of 19 squared plus 11 squared gives me 21.9544. Okay, so my perimeter I'm gonna go 10.6301 plus 11.7046 plus 21.9544. I'm gonna grab my calculator here. I'm not showing it, but I'm actually using a calculator. Plus 11.7046 plus 21.9544. And I get um 44.2891. Okay, they said two decimal places, right? So let me take a look at the third decimal number, which happens to be a 9. This 9 is big enough, so it pushes the previous number. So it means that 8 is going to become a 9. So my answer is 44.29. My perimeter of this triangle is 44.29. Not bad, not bad. Let's take a look at this quadrilateral. Quadrilateral basically means four sides. Perimeter. So what do I have to do? Find the length of each side and then add them all up. Okay, so let's see. Let me see. My point T, the coordinates are, actually, let me write them all in here. -2, 5. My point U, the coordinates are 9, 11. My point V, the coordinates are 10, -1. My point S, the coordinates are -3, -4. Okay, so let me start with, I don't know, the side TU. So I'm looking at this side, the side TU. If I was to subtract the x's, 9 minus a -2, I get 11. So 11 squared plus, if I was to subtract the y's, 11 minus 5, I get 6. The square root of 11 squared plus 6 squared gives me 12.5299. Okay, let's take a look at the side UV. If I was to subtract the x's, there's a 10 and a 9. So I will get 1 squared. If I was to subtract the y's, one of them is 11, the other one -1. So 11 minus a -1 is 12. The square root of 1 squared plus 12 squared gives me about 12.0415. Okay, let's take a look at the side SV. The x values are 10 and a -3, right? So 10 minus a -3 is 13. My y values are -1 and -4. So -1 minus a -4, that's 3. Now the square root of 13 squared plus 3 squared is 13.3416. Lastly, let me take a look at my point TS. Look at the x values, -2, -3. If I see the distance between them, -2, -3 is a 1. The distance between 5 and -4, because I'm looking at the y's now. The distance between 5 and -4 is 9. Now, 1 squared plus 9 squared, the square root of all that gives me 9.0553. So let me highlight my four sides. So I want to add that. So let's see, 12.5299 plus 12.0415 plus 13.3416 plus 9.0553. According to my calculator, I get 46.9683. They said 100, so two decimal places. So I do take a look at the third decimal number. It is big enough, so that pushes the previous number. So it means the 6 is going to become 7. So my answer is 46.97. Now you see why we talk about the distance formula a few units before it. The distance formula is very important.